I got a ping. I was lifting and I got a ping. And I picked up this man, and his name was Leslie, my mama's name. And so I was like, wow, cool. Hey. And it kind of came out of nowhere. Well, they all do, right? And so I was like, that's my mama's name. And we had a good conversation. We're driving. And then I got a message that said, someone's added to your queue. And so, okay, driving. So I let Leslie out of the car, the gentleman, and I am trying to find the passenger who has been added to my queue. And I'm getting kind of lost in a little circle. Like, I can't find her, so I'm calling. And it's tripping me out because it's still saying Leslie on the, but I don't know any man named Leslie personally. But, so here was this guy, then this woman. Now, I get her in the car, and out of nowhere, it's like 6 fire trucks blaring down the road beside me, just out of nowhere. Sirens ringing downtown San Francisco. And I got a Leslie in my car, my mama's name, and I just dropped off a Leslie. Guess what I did? I dropped Leslie off, and I was going to have to drive a couple of hours home. I got my butt on the road, and I came home. Because what I know about myself is, and I know how God spirit operates, I get signs. I get, things like that. I don't need to figure out like the scary movie, where we're screaming at the woman or the dude going into the house, and that, we know, and they know that it's monsters and demons and the house is burning down. And why are you going in there? Jason is in there. Why are you doing that? And you're screaming at I don't need none of that. You don't have to tell me get out. I don't know what all of that meant, but what I know is it's no coincidence. I've learned enough about myself and my connection to spirit that is a sign, watch out. So I'm going to head on home, and I'm going to be watchful even on the road home. So this is know yourself and the importance of knowing yourself. I'm spiritual. I've always been spiritual. It's of course been a process of discovering, and now understanding and learning that, where I'm rooted, where I am grounded, where I'm most valuable, is standing in spirit, for myself and even for others. I talked about on a tape, my mom and I. My mom was very spiritual. She knows spirit. Her grandfather, knows her grandfather was so connected that, God would surge through him. And there were folks who were brought back to life, his faith. And so lay hands was the real deal for him. And so she knows that thing, and she had her own gifts. It's just our gifts worked differently. She was completely grounded, in her anointing. It was always grounded. For me, I go up into the spirit. It's like, okay, Jill, come on down to the ground. No, and I had to get to that place where it has to be no, because, where I go up and grab hold, and then I hear God where he says, root, now ground. That's the power for me. If I'm just grounding and, just doing things because somebody wants me to do that thing, or, somebody thinks that I should be doing this thing over here, and I'm not committed. I'm not going to be there long, and it's all bad. It's all bad. It's the confirmation in the spirit, me being here, and then, the power of it all. I knew for a fact that my father, I was supposed to be with him, my mother, and I'm also a dreamer. It's our family line. We're dreamers, like the Jacksons being singers. We're dreamers, and it's not to take that thing lightly. I mean, my great grandfather was a dreamer, and the things and visions that God gave him, that because he his faith in it and his belief in it, um, his mission was all over the world. There's buildings, church buildings all over the world, um, because of his yes, and so hearing and seeing and then believing and trusting and moving forward. I understand that um, it's a real thing. I'm not just we're not just having these dreams and visions, and somebody can say, oh, that's just a dream, just a it it's so powerful in our bloodline, and those are the things that when they get lost or not nurtured, kids and folks just having these dreams and waking up having these, and they just think it's nothing, and man, it could be possibly saving the world. I mean, it's the way God is talking to you, and it's the way he connects with you, and that sort of thing. And so it's the way that he operates with me. My father, I saw my father's passing. I saw this suddenly, about 8 months before I wrote it down as to how he would. It still didn't connect with me, but God was giving me. I woke up with the feeling, and the same feeling that I actually really had when he passed away. I saw my mother, that the cancer had come back. She was moving and operating and back in at work and everything, and strong and vibrant, and but he gave me that thing. And so when I was saying God, bye to her, for real, I had already seen that in a dream. Um, he set things up for me as to how to move and operate. There was also a gentleman. He gave me a clear warning 10 years ago. So much so I knew it was so real that I told a friend, and I'll keep the information private and all of that. I don't want to go into the detail, but I knew it was a big thing that if he didn't change his life, whatever it was he was doing, if it didn't change, that he would have this big fall, and the fall he would be exposed. And 10 years later, I saw him in an orange suit, um, being shackled off, fighting for his life, possibly spend the rest of his life in prison. And, so when God speaks to you like that, and you see those things come to be, then, um, you know, two people getting in a car, Leslie, and these sirens, I'm going to not just act goofy with that thing. I'm going to move. And so I'm not clear about what it was I was being protected from, or, if it's something to come, just be watchful, So I'm going to, it alerts my senses, my spiritual senses, alert. And so if I don't know myself, there are people who don't operate like I do, that could possibly say, oh, that's just a coincidence. Oh, you just had a dream. Yeah, was it real? You get caught up in goofy land, because that's not it's not who I am. I am spiritual, and you know, so again, I'm thinking, because of course, it's been a process for me, but I've always been this way, so 2020s, I'd say, where, um, you know, people who may have said, "Oh, she's so aloof," and or whatever, or whatever whatever people would say to define me, or define who I am, and that sort of thing. That becomes a fight, right? You're fighting with it because you're trying to figure it out. um so I guess I'm talking to one parents, when your babies have certain way about them, and certain gifts, and there's certain patterns, and nurture that thing, guide that thing. They have their own journey, and so who knows what it's all for, but it does certainly have purpose. God is intentional. And he says, let there be light, there is light. Let there be Jill, Jill is here. Here I am. And all that I have and all that I am is here. It's just kind of walking into it, discovering, remembering, and that sort of thing. So that's the parental, for self, knowing yourself. Don't be discouraged. You are this right here, exploring, in every experience, exploring self, exploring, how you operate and how you respond. And, for me, man, the visions and the lucid dreams and, all of those things, writing them down, because, and that's what's been beautiful. My process has been so beautiful with, God sending people in to say, hey, write your dreams down. Your dreams are very important, so hearing and catching those messages and doing those things, and then kind of seeing this pattern of how God tells these stories. And so, now that's kind of what I watch for. My mom and I were, I think I may have said it, where we were different because we operated different in our gifts. In the very end, I mean, where I was most valuable was standing in my place, in my spirit, and operating in who I am. And it was the place where she looked me eye to eye, and twinkle twinkle gave me that smile, and just she she was very proud. And so, you know, when I do things, I can't. I can't worry about it. I think the struggle for me is when I hear things and then I go against the grain and go, man. But know yourself. Again, it's very, very important.